Happy 6th birthday to Tyrese Halliburton, and happy Thursday to all of you. On this channel, every Thursday means a new segment of In Case You Missed It, which is the weekly recap, so let's start recapping. The Wizards moved Jordan Poole to the bench this week, and he had 18 points on 17 shots in his first game off the bench. What a great value contract for the Wizards to have the next few years. This is what I would have said if I didn't see what he did against the Cavs this week, as he had 31, 5, and 5 on 11 for 21 shooting. The bench is where Jordan Poole has always done his best work, so for Washington to move him there, I believe it will be very beneficial moving forward. Now, obviously, Jordan Poole, oh my goodness, disappointment of the year. Top 3 in the NBA, matter of fact, and biggest disappointments this year. What a controversial end to a game the Pistons should have won against a quality team. Evidently, it was a foul and a horrible missed call. If it wasn't a Pistons game, the call probably would have been made. But to all the referees, you better get it together before the postseason, since I am not trying to see this happen during the playoffs. But Pistons fans, congrats, you finally are not the worst team in basketball. That goes to the Wizards. Victor Wembanyama does not care about stats and only wants to win. I love that about him, so San Antonio, please start winning games and please add some talent, because I do not want to talk about Wemby and Devin Vassell every day, every week. It was rumored or maybe even officially announced, but apparently Scoot Henderson will be starting for the remainder of the season. Congrats to Scoot, prove the haters wrong, and try to make your supporters right. He did not play all week though, I will not lie, but this team went 0-4 and got blown out every game, just about, so there's nothing really else to talk about. This week's shun goes to the Hornets because they only scored 26 points in one half of an NBA game, as well as getting into a hilarious altercation. Here's the tape of that, but y'all are not getting any more comments from me about this team this week.
And Quinones, Miles, Mann, Grant. And Quinones clearly is not happy with Grant Williams.
Zaire Williams and Gigi Jackson are both so crucial for the Grizzlies to end this year, because if those two develop and can consistently do what they did against the Bucks, the Grizzlies team going forward will be a force in the Western Conference. So Gigi, Zaire, please keep cooking. In case you missed it, the Nets fired their coach, Jacques Vaughn, and then got annihilated by the Raptors in their first game without him. That was funny to me, but to make matters even funnier, they still haven't scored over 100 points since he was fired. And no, I will not count the game against the Grizzlies, who are literally a G League team currently. So yeah, they played 4 games this week. The only game they scored over 100 was against the Grizzlies. Not impressed with the Nets. Pizza party for the Raptors. It's about time they win 3 in a row this year. But in more important news, Scotty Barnes had a 21, 12, and 12 and 5 block game this week. I love Scotty, but the media won't show you his plus minus, as he was a -4 compared to every other starter who was a plus. Something you need to be aware of, unfortunately. If you haven't been tuned into Rockets games of late, I personally do not blame you. But Amen Thompson has been picking it up and proving why he was drafted 4th overall. The way he has been playing makes me wonder if he would go 3rd overall to the Blazers instead of Scoot Henderson in a redraft. He does complement a lineup of Anthony Simon, Shaedon Sharpe, Jeremy Grant, and DeAndre Ayton way better. Just saying. Let me know. Would you draft Amen Thompson over Scoot Henderson if you were the Blazers in a redraft? Comment down below. Let's show Keontae George some love, because before he got hurt earlier this year, he was looking like the best rookie guard. But then he got hurt and lost his rhythm, but he found that rhythm again against the Warriors, as he had 33 points and 6 assists while hitting 9 threes. Good work. But yeah, the Jazz, I don't want to talk about the Jazz anymore. The Chicago Bulls are going to make the playoffs, and everyone, including me, will be violating them for it. But until that time, let's just appreciate how much balance this team has right now. Young players showing out, trying to prove their value, along with veteran players trying to prove they can fit any system. It's really been some nice basketball, but then you remember they're the Bulls. Trae Young will be out 4 weeks with a finger injury, so the Atlanta Hawks probably should see how good they are without him the next 4 weeks and really use it to decide whether trading him or DeJounte is the answer. My personal perspective is trade them both. Completely rebuild, because neither of them are one options on championship teams, and they have no assets to acquire a one option via trade, and they have no draft capital to draft a number 1 either. Also, have no money to sign one. So yeah, trade them both. Obviously, they're going to trade one and keep the other. Most likely trade DeJounte, but we'll see what happens. Before the season started, I said AD was a dark horse MVP candidate, and I got clowned for it. But if we were being honest, AD would be an MVP in just about any other season before 2019. with the season he is having. The Lakers were a top 3 seed. Think he would be in the convo as a top 7 player in the MVP conversation. But the Lakers are not, so he's not. The 76ers were not blessed with the most ideal schedule for their return to the NBA action after the All-Star break, but Maxey didn't mind as he was cooking all week, even dropped 32 on the Celtics and was still very efficient while doing so. The biggest question of the week and post-All-Star break is, are the Warriors finally back? I personally am reluctant to say that because they have looked awful in so many moments this year, and I just can't forget about that. But they also have such good history, and seeing Klay Thompson move to the bench and finally let go of his ego, while Draymond Green hasn't been a menace anymore this season, unless it's against my Suns. Wiggins is finally playing basketball again, Kuminga and Podominski looking like future All-Stars, and Steph Curry just being Steph Curry. It is very hard for me to ignore. So let me know your thoughts on the Warriors in the comments. I believe they'll finish as the 7th seed in the West, probably lose first round, but they probably finish 9th, for being honest, and don't make the playoffs. That's unfortunately the sad reality. The Kings came out of the All-Star break hot. Hopefully this sustains for their sake because they really need consistency from everyone in order to truly be a team that people are worried about facing in the postseason, and they are not that at the moment. Julius Randle may get surgery on his shoulder and miss even more time, and before the season started, I said if he gets hurt, the Knicks would be in trouble. They have had ups and downs without him, but if they meet an elite team early and don't have him, they will lose in the first round. The Pelicans fully healthy really need to be talked about more because when they are healthy, they look like a top team in the Western Conference. But they are never healthy, and this year we can't even say it's Zion's fault. It's very tragic. No matter how good my Suns look, once we face the Mavericks, we look awful for a while. That is in fact the case this week as we lost to them to open the week and then kept losing. Tragic. But in other news, how do we get Bobo in the MVP conversation? He's my MVP because if he turns up, my Suns are very dangerous. Until we play the Mavs again, of course. The inconsistency of the 2024 Indiana Pacers personnel needs to be studied more. I mean, it doesn't help when the starting lineup changes weekly, but when players go from scoring 30 plus points in one game to under 10 the next, you really are curious to know what is going on game to game. Mo Wagner for 6th Man of the Year. No, not actually, but he has been very good this year and deserves more recognition, so shout out to him. In case you missed it, the Miami Heat players that were suspended from their altercation against the Pelicans held a watch party. And, well, I'm just going to play the altercation, a minute of it, since it was very funny. So yeah, y'all enjoy. Miami Heat obviously look like a very good team in the NBA again. I would not want to play them in the postseason.
And tempers are flaring here in New Orleans. Oh no, what just happened? Najee Marshall, Jimmy Butler. It all started with a Kevin Love foul on Zion. Oh, it's broken out of bounds. Valanciunas to a haymaker. Thomas Robinson. Thomas Bryant, excuse me. Oh, things have turned.
And now we get to talk about one of the most overrated teams in the NBA, even though, I've probably been one of the ones overrating them, the Los Angeles Clippers. The Clippers' inability to beat good teams is exactly why they are frauds and are going to disappoint again come postseason time. They played the Thunder and Timberwolves recently and lost by 20-plus points both games. Sure, they beat the Celtics, but I could honestly care less about that because the Celtics are in the East, and if the Clippers can't beat the good Western Conference teams that they play, then they won't have to worry about playing the Celtics because they won't make it to the finals. They are actually 1-4 against the Thunder and Timberwolves this year, and although I have continually called those two teams suspect, I need to start saying the Clippers are suspect too, because they have not looked promising against good teams, and that is exactly why they are going to choke again come postseason time, and that is exactly why they're fraudulent and very overrated. So, what is going on with the Clippers? Because, this week specifically, Thunder, they lost by 22 points. They lost by 16 to the Kings, and then they blew a 21-point lead to the Lakers. Now, Paul George missed time this week, yes, but still, you're getting blown out, and then you're blowing 20-plus point leads. Lakers aren't even good. And, I'm done talking about the Clippers. I can't stand these guys. Basic summary of what I was trying to say. They can't beat good teams. They just can't. They can only beat bad teams, and they beat up on them. The classic team that is going to choke in the postseason. All right. The Bucks are becoming criminally underrated. No matter what anyone wants to say about them not being able to defend and then Doc Rivers' narrative, which are both true, Giannis is a proven playoff performer and is good enough to carry this team to the conference finals. If they were to finish as a 2 or 3 seed this year, they will meet Boston in the Eastern Conference Finals. Do not be surprised when that happens. They will beat the Cavs, they'll beat the Knicks, they'll beat whoever if they're 2-3. Now, if they're the 4 seed, obviously they're not making it through the Celtics, but this team is criminally underrated. I really don't understand how they can be this underrated, having Giannis, who is going to give you 40 and 20 games in the playoffs. It's ridiculous. I've been saying it, and I'll keep saying it. The Mavericks are going to win the Western Conference this year if we turn off injuries for every team. They have looked out of this world ever since the trade deadline, and if it weren't for a Max Strus game winner from over half court, probably wouldn't be as debatable as it probably is now. The Cavaliers are a top 5 team in basketball, but they are so suspect, and it really needs to be looked into closely. I do not trust them in the postseason, and until one of Evan Mobley and Darius Garland can prove that they can consistently show up against good teams, they are considered fraudulent in my book. In case you missed it, Nikola Jokic now has a triple-double against every NBA team. I think it is safe to say he will go down as a top 5 center of all time if it wasn't already. But the most fascinating thing to me this week is the fact that Michael Porter Jr. can look like prime Kevin Durant at random times during the season, and then he turns into a 6'11 Jordan Poole. It really makes no sense to me at all. The Thunder didn't miss a beat this All-Star break as they came out hot, beating the Clippers by 22, and then did what you would expect them to do against the Wizards by winning by 41. They proceeded to overcome a halftime deficit against the Rockets to win by 13, and then they cooked the Rockets again, this time at home. Not really anything to speak about on this team after this week because they really didn't play anyone, but they cooked, and yeah, good job. 3rd best team in basketball. They would have been number 2 and the best team in the West if it weren't for the Timberwolves. Anthony Edwards had takeover all week as he had the following stats in this week's games. Against Portland, 34-6-7. Milwaukee, 28-9-5. Brooklyn, 29-8-3. San Antonio, 34-5-5. And concluded his week with 34 on the Grizzlies JV squad. I'm not going to tell you his efficiency behind this week because it wasn't great, but this is what he is going to be doing in the postseason. So be ready. And of course, we got the Celtics. They're the best team in the league. Nothing else to say about them other than that. Matter of fact, I do have something to say. If they don't win it all, Jason Tatum is the most overrated player in the league and the most overrated player of the 2020s. I will stand on that narrative. He is so overrated if they don't win this year. Overrated. And with that, we conclude our first weekly recap ever since the All-Star break. 98% of y'all watching these videos are not subscribed, unfortunately. So consider hitting the subscribe button because it does help. And if you want to watch more content on this channel, here's my reaction to Flight Reacts' Top 100. Yeah, that was an interesting list. Y'all have a good one. Bye.